welcome back to the second segment of our show of Community Matters. These breaks just aren't long enough because I didn't get to plan how I'm going to join these two guys up. But anyway, for those of you that are joining us now, welcome to Community Matters. A reintroduction again, the show where you, the community, matter, because we're going to be bringing up matters about the community. And the topic we have today is a nice little bookshop down off Brick Lane, Bangla Town, whichever you want to call it. The bookshop is called Shantir Boy, and if you thought that was run by a Bangladeshi brother, well, you've got that horribly wrong, because the two gentlemen on my right, they are the eyes and the ears behind that, alongside the remainder of their volunteers that are part of this, but they are the people that are doing this and are working so hard for you to actually go back to your roots. Can you believe it? It's actually this gentleman here, Robert, who actually knows that your root language better than you do. And much better than me, so I'm going to stay quiet because I've got a few challenges for Rob. But over to my left, I've got young Ajim here, who spoke to us about his local political involvement. But I think I need to get the more humble side out of this young man, because he's involved in charities that are doing absolutely blinding work for the poor and for the education needy back in Sylhet and across different places, starting from Lama Khazi. So this is what I've got today. Both of these guys have got the same conquest piece. What context they do it in, they're going to elaborate on that today. Andrew, I'm going to come over to you because I've given these two gentlemen plenty of time. May I ask, I mean, you've obviously picked up the Bengali language because you were born, well, you were bred there, but have you got a favourite book here, or is there a Nagri book that you've really kept your eye on and thought, you know, I'm going to keep trying this one, I'm going to keep looking at this one?
So the other one I've really looked at has been this poetry book, but one of my favourite books is probably that one right on the left there, the one at the top right, yeah.
This one here?
The one above it.
The one above it, right, the bigger book.
So, yeah,
let me bring that across. Maybe you can show us a bit about.
So this is one of our newest books to come into the shop, and it's a comic book version, essentially, of the text of the Injil in Sylheti Nagari. No, it's not. Sorry, not in Sylheti Nagari. This is in Sylheti language, but in the Shuddhi Bhasha script. So I can read this, but sadly I don't yet speak Sylheti.
Right.
I speak Shuddhi Bhasha, so I won't fully understand it, but I will be able to read it.
Okay. I mean, obviously you've looked at it enough. Is there something that you can share that's really inspirational from that book? Or maybe there's a page.
Since I can't understand it, it's a bit difficult.
Right.
But what I think is really good is the way that this uses pictures to bring to life a story that otherwise would just be text. Some people, like myself, don't like reading that much. So having a book with pictures to illustrate the story of the Prophet Jesus, of his life 2,000 years ago, and to see that with all the details with pictures, just to bring it to life. It's just amazing, I think.
I mean, yeah, Shantir Boy is in an area which has a very, very, very large portion of Muslims. So obviously, a book that's written in Bengali, that's actually the biblical version of Jesus' life. I mean, do you actually get a lot of people actually coming? They must be picking it up and flicking through it. And they must be impressed by the fact that it's using the Sylheti dialect as opposed to Shuddha.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the same with a lot of our books. So we've got lots of translation of existing works that were in Shuddhi Bhasha, but we thought we need to get it into Sylheti because in East London, mostly Sylheti. So this is the language of the people here. So although it's not the language that I was brought up with, this is the language that's important to our community here.
Absolutely.
And we think that while you can just bring a message, if you bring it just to a certain group of people, that's not bringing it to everyone. The way we're going to get peace to the community is that all the community can engage with the same book, with the same ideas. Because we believe that to get true peace, yes, there's conflicts in the world, and those things are terrible. We do need to solve them. But our ultimate peace is the peace inside us, our peace with God. And from that, from the inside us, flows all the things that lead to conflict. If we can sort ourselves out, which can only be solved by sorting out our relationship with God, that's the only way we can stop these terrible things outside us in the world around us.
Absolutely.
So that's why we think it's very important to bring the message of God in every language. Obviously, in this community, the important language is Sylheti, and that's why we're trying to bring this to the people here.
Brilliant. Young man, I'm going to ask you because I'm the host, so nobody asked me. If you was to go across over to Shantir Boy, Now, I don't know, how much have you studied Bengali? Because mine was minimal being brought up here, so I'm assuming you're the same as me, more or less.
Well,
but would you pick up one of these and just be intrigued by it?
I think especially with the graphic images that you were talking about, the visual images, I think that for me makes a big difference. But I'm sure if I was to walk in, I'd be very intrigued, as I am today, looking at some of the literature that's on show and learning about some of the context in which it's been put out in. It's something that does interest me, and I'd urge those in the surrounding area to pop in, because these guys are on a mission, and it's an interesting one, and I'm sure that I will be definitely popping down soon.
I did promise everyone, Rob, that we're going to be amazed and shocked by you reading, actually, from one of your books. So, I mean, I won't make it too difficult, Rob. If I can ask you to choose one and take a passage out of it. This is absolutely exclusive. This is unique. You're not going to see this anywhere else, but we're not even talking Shuddha Bhasha, we're talking Nagri, the original sort of lexicon of Sylhet, if I've phrased that correctly. So here we have Mr. Robert Scott, who you wouldn't expect this to come from, but he's going to amaze us all. Robert, take it away when you're ready.
So this is poem number 2 by Sufi Sittalong from nearly 200 years ago. He was buried in Zokiganj in Sylhet. And the writing, just so you know, is all in Nagri here. It's not in English or in Bangla, so I'm not cheating. We've read this as part of our Sylheti classes, and none of us are particularly good. And it's all Sylheti speakers as well, not just people like me. But we will have a go, and hopefully you'll understand what I'm saying and the importance behind it. Oba dual alaji, full sirat, shanktate, more tore, nibayani. Alaji, Koriasi, Hotogunna, Tumare, Berazi. Shaitaner, Dukai, Foraidai, Texi, Azi. Alaji, Dunya, Khoira, Muilam, Hubai Dunya Azi. Before they Foria, Daki Torai, Lo Azi. Alaji, Gufo Rohim to me. Rohim O Rahman, Na Oise na Uibo Hiu, Tumar Shoman. Alaji, Bober Maya Mozi, Koilam, Hoto Rongdong, Bifoke Tekia, Khande Fokir Sittalong. The wretched Sittalong weeps at his helpless plight. Who's going to get him across the bridge of judgment? As Andrew was saying, in many ways, the problems in our world that Anjan was talking about are symptoms of a deeper problem. The problem in our heart that is corrupt above all things in many ways. The prophet Noah was told to say that every inclination of the thoughts of our hearts is evil all of the time, and therefore who will get us across the narrow bridge of judgment? Unless the war with God in our heart is sorted out, what will happen? We cannot have peace unless God sorts it out. And it's interesting that when Jesus walks the earth, Isa, one of the titles that he's given it is Prince of Peace. He's come to bring that peace. At his birth, the angels declare peace on earth because of this baby being born. And so I think just putting together this poem, in many ways, makes us cry out to God, how can we have peace in our hearts that makes us safe on Judgment Day, and we believe takes us to the Prince of Peace, Isa.
I mean, I have to say that when you read that, I understood it quite, not 100%.
That's my pronunciation.
Quite a lot compared to if that was done in Shuddha. I'll be honest with you, I would really struggle. So, I mean...
Well, that's the point in many ways. In many ways, languages are from God. They are part of who we are, and they are all different. And unless we hear God in our own heart language, we'd never really truly understand him and what he wants for us in our lives. So that's part of what we're trying to do. So actually, Sylheti isn't village Bengali, as we often hear. It's not just Cockney or a bad dialect in some way. It's people's heart language. It's 10 million people speak this language, and they need to hear about the peace they can have, or will they get across the bridge of judgment safely?
Wow. I mean, actually, I want to ask you to take off your local hat and actually put on your religious hat, because that's the fact that that was done in Sylheti. It's very, I mean, I could almost take an empathetic approach to that, because you could feel the writer there, and he's pleaded with God, isn't it? And I mean, isn't that what's expected of Muslims?
Yeah, definitely. You're entirely right. you could definitely see the empathy in the passages that Rob was reading, just because it was talked upon a lot, that inner kind of war between yourself in trying to sort your own self out, and the relationship with you and Allah. I think, bringing it back to involvement, I think a lot of people like me who are involved locally, that is to try and do something active to help others, or to try and make a change for the better, that I feel as if I am trying to reach that. And I think a lot of people in our community definitely feel that active engagement in trying to do the right thing is trying to resolve that inner kind of the battle that they're fighting, and I think that's another important thing. I'm sorry to bring it back to politics all the time and activism and involvement, but there you go. But it is important, I think, for others that find it difficult to just sit on their own in a corner and try and fight this battle on their own, that there are ways to try and actively go about it, and there are others that you can sit and talk to about this as you try and promote with the bookshop.
Well, I think I've heard quite a fair amount from you three, and we need a little bit more coming in. I understand we have a caller on the line, so I'm going to bring him on the air. Caller on line 1, welcome to Community Matters. Please introduce yourself with your name.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
My name is Asad.
Asad, welcome to Community Matters. How are you?
Very, very well. It's a fascinating discussion.
And what have you got to say about this discussion?
Well, this is very interesting because, just to give you a historical backdrop, we had lots of different scripts to write the Bengali language, and the whole thing was standardized in the 19th century. So these things happen cumulatively. It's a bit like the English language, which had, in fact, various dialects. And only in the 19th century, I guess, it started with actually Johnson. I'm sure you've come across Johnson's dictionary. That was the beginning of standardization of English language. But English dialects, like, for example, I went to Norfolk perhaps in the 70s. Even then there were people who spoke the local Norfolk dialect, which was not understood widely. So I think, but now of course people like Mr. Scott, for example, who speak standard English, perhaps I don't know where he's originally from, which part of England or Britain he's from. Is Mr. Scott English? Where from? Where in England?
I'm originally from Southend in Essex, about 40 miles east of where we are here.
Which I'm sure has its own accent as well.
I mean, your family presumably came from Southend, but they would have had a dialect as well. But it's a bit like, Bengali is a bit like German today, for example. When Germans are in their own environment, like if they're Bavarians, for example, Bavarians have their own dialect. Amongst themselves, they will speak in the Bavarian dialect. But when they're communicating with other Germans, they will communicate in standard received German.
Yeah.
And in fact, sometimes the dialects are so different, they're not actually mutually intelligible.
Yeah.
I just hope people understand all what I'm saying.
Asad, thank you very much for that. No, we really appreciate that insight into it. We do have another caller. I'm going to try to get on as many people as we can, but that was really interesting coming from Asad. Hopefully we'll get a moment to comment on that. I have a caller on line 2. Caller on line 2, welcome to Community Matters.
Hello.
Hello.
My name's Shabia from East London.
Hello, Shabia.
Hi. I'd like to know where Nagri Sileti originates from. Does it come from Sanskrit? And the second question is it does it stem from Shuddha Bhasha? Thank
you very much for your question, sir. We're going to go to a break very shortly, but if we can answer this question, I mean, Rob, I'm going to rely on you if you can on the question from the caller there.
In speaking to scholar friends about this, so I'm not the kind of scholar of Nagri, I'm trying to use what they've said. Nagri doesn't seem to have come from standard Bengali, but is similar to it. They both seem to have more of a Sanskrit root, and they go off in slightly different directions that look the same at times. But a friend of mine, he put together an alphabet of Sanskrit and compared it with Bengali and Nagri, and you could see that there were lots of links, but they're all slightly different. So my understanding is it's a separate language of a similar root.
Okay. Well, Those are two callers in line. We're actually going to go for a quick break. I'm sure there's more callers that have got many more questions. And for those of you, thank you for being patient on the line while we try to get everything in. We're going to go for a quick break, and then we're going to come into our final segment where we want to talk about these two conquests and modern technology and how that's affecting it. So please don't go away. We'll be with you very shortly again.